And Ted Yoho and the salty dog, John Martin, as they search far and wide for the greatest treasure of all, the truth. From local Florida news to nationwide stories and the globe beyond, we've got it all mapped out. Now here's your hosts, the salty dog, John Martin, and Captain Ted Yoho.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 3Ps, the Political Pirate Podcast with your host, the old salty dog here, John Martin, and from Keys, the Florida Keys, the captain of our pirate ship, none other than Ted Yoho. Good morning, Ted. How are you?
Good morning, John. Great to hear you and see you. And, looking good there.
Well, we're coming to you as I do in the studio here from the home that Spurrier built, so to speak. It's kind of the home of the Florida Gators now, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. And if you've never been here, you need to check it out. But before we go any further, I have to take a point of personal privilege wearing my Gator colors here in the house.
There you
as
are.
I say, Spurrier built. The Gators finally won a big football game. They defeated Texas Longhorns at Florida Field this past weekend. And I got to give them a quick shout out considering where we are.
Yep. They did a great job, and it was good to see, especially against Texas. You know, the Manning dynasty is out there, and the Gators did us well.
Absolutely. Well, if you haven't watched shows like the show that's on just before we come on the air, Shane Matthews' show, check that out as well. Because if you want all things Gators and sports in general, Shane is probably the best way to go. But
I
Ted,
was thinking that this morning that to promote Shane, because he does a great job. I mean, he's been there, he's lived that life, and he follows it intensely, and great source of information.
Absolutely. Well, Ted, I want to move into a story, and before we came on air, you and I were talking about all the crazy things that are happening both in our nation and literally around the world, and we're going to touch on some of those this morning. And one of the things I said to you is, I just don't really know how to feel about all these things we're about to talk about, because on one point, I'm angry, another point, I'm sad, dismayed. I mean, you put an adverb in front of it, and I probably feel it on a daily basis about some of the things that are happening in our country, many of the things, and around the world. It's just hard to really wrap your mind around sometimes.
It really is, John. And, it's every day something new is coming out. I know we're going to talk about some of this, but the idea that Apple had a app that you could download where ICE was going to be, or Homeland Security, or CBP, Custom Border Patrol, were going to be. And that just the idea that there's an app so people could see where they were so that they could go there and protest or cause chaos. And they took it down, which I'm glad they took it down, but it should never have been put up. And any other app that is out there needs to be taken down for that. That's a national security, and definitely a security to the security guards or the people trying to do their jobs. But then you look at like the movies coming out, this new one with Leonardo DiCaprio, where he's on the side of the illegal. I don't know if he's a lawyer or if he's an activist, but they're the good guys defending the people that are here illegally, and the government and the borders, the people trying to do their job, the security people, they're the bad people. And I mean, this is a dichotomy in this country that's just fueling more hatred. And for Hollywood to do this kind of garbage is just... and I haven't seen the movie. I can't say anything about it, but I'm just hearing about it. I asked myself, is this going to bring people together closer in the nation, or is it going to take them further apart? I'm all for having the debate and highlighting different points of view, but if it drives a further wedge in this country, it's not something we need. And I know I sent you that thing about what is a bad bunny or bad rabbit that the Super Bowl's going to have. And this guy is anti-ICE, anti-immigrant, or anti-rule of laws when it comes to immigration. And the NFL, probably the premier sporting event in the American world, if not the world of sports, they're going to have a very controversial halftime show.
Yeah, absolutely. And beyond that, he's even racist. But you were talking about that app, and one thing that I'd mention on top of what you said, because I agree with everything you said, is that not only did Apple put that up there, but most of the major networks like CNN and MSNBC and all that promoted the app. They didn't just cover it and say it's out there. They literally had, CNN actually had a basically a how to use it show on the app. So that shows you where their loyalties lie. And Hollywood,
it really does,
has gone to seed a long time ago. And people sometimes accuse the Jews of running Hollywood. And I'm not saying there's not a Jewish influence there, good, bad, or whatever. But it seems to me that China may be running Hollywood right now.
You know, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was going to go to that. Keep in mind who owns Sony, who owns the big studios, who's promoting this stuff. And if they're coming out with a movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, who's not a patriot in my book, and if this movie falls in line with what I described, anti-government, I'm sure they'll have some kind of a Trumpian type of president in there, and they'll make him look like a buffoon. And that they're the bad guys, and these people that are fighting for the rights of the people that are here illegally are the good people. And you can see how China would love to do something like that to drive that wedge of disharmony in America. And we have to watch who we're watching, who we're giving our money to. And if this is true, we just need to boycott this movie. And same thing with the NFL.
Absolutely. Well, the topic I want to cover right now kind of encompasses all of this, and it's about Trump derangement syndrome. How far are the Democrats, Ted, willing to take what I call their TDS? Because it is becoming more evident every single day that the only issue the Democrats really have and what motivates them is just anti-Trump. Whatever side President Trump is on, they are adamantly opposed to it. And that's the reason why we're having this shutdown at the end of the day. It has nothing to do with principle. It has nothing to do with health care. It has to do with stopping Donald Trump. And to the point that they're willing to empower him to stop him. It's crazy.
They really are, but he has been prepared for this, and we talked about this on Friday. Russ Voigt, who is the head of OMB, Office of Management and Budget, he's been prepared for this since Trump's first term, and he wants to shrink the size of the federal government. So this shutdown is going to play right into their hands, and you're going to see them go massively through and getting rid of a lot of these redundant jobs. And these agencies, once they get stood up, they create little bureaus with inside of them, and you're going to see a lot of these go away, and they need to. And so Trump will make the best out of this, that the Democrats handed them the shutdown.
Absolutely. Well, I want to play a video here that came out over the weekend, and it really kind of sums up, and we're going to talk more in detail, but it sums up how far the Democrats are willing to take this or what they're willing to condone. This is Kristi Noem telling you flat out that there are bounties not only against ICE agents in general, but very specific ones as well. Check this out, and we'll come back and talk about it.
People are organized. They're getting more and more people on their team as far as attacking officers, and they're making plans to ambush them and to kill them. We have specific officers and agents that have bounties that have been put out on their heads.
Anti-ICE protests are spreading across major U.S. cities, with violence erupting in places like Chicago and Portland. ICE agents and Border Patrol officers are facing growing threats from organized protesters, gangs, and cartel-linked networks. According to Homeland Security officials, several ICE officers now have bounties placed on their heads, $2,000 to kidnap and $10,000 to kill. Officials say the attackers are becoming more organized, using vehicles and weapons to ambush law enforcement. Despite the chaos, some political leaders continue denying the violence, calling these reports exaggerated. But agents on the ground describe America's streets as a war zone.
Our intelligence indicates that these people are organized. They're getting more and more people on their team as far as attacking officers, and they're making.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. There is Kristi Noem literally telling you that ICE agents are being targeted, Border Patrol as well, not only in general, but some of them have been docked specifically, and bounties of $10,000 to murder them and $2,000 to kidnap them. I'm not trying to lay all of this on the Democrats, but I have yet to hear a Democratic official come out and condemn this in any way, shape, or form. What are your thoughts about that, Ted?
Not one Democrat have I heard come out and denounce this. For the idea that the ICE agents get cornered by 10 vehicles, I mean, that's a scary thing for anybody to have to put up with. But these guys that are the men and women that are serving and just doing their job, and we wouldn't have to have done this had the Biden and Obama administration done border security for the United States of America, not for political agendas, not for whatever reason they did it for. If they would have done their jobs, ICE wouldn't be out there. And it was a mess that needed to be cleaned up. And for people to put bounty on their heads, I believe that's a felony. And you got to look at follow the money. Where's the money coming from for all these protesters? And it's interesting when you listen to this video, they're all singing the same thing, so it's been rehearsed. It's like they get sheet music and somebody's funding all that.
Yeah, well, it just keeps getting worse and worse, Ted, because not only breaking overnight, we had some news over the past day that really, I won't say shocked me because it's hard to shock me now, unfortunately, about some of this stuff. But a circuit judge out in California has ruled that, at least for now, that Donald Trump cannot send the National Guard into Portland. And he's not trying to send them to take over the city. He's literally trying to send them to protect federal buildings, in this particular case, an ICE facility there where they're literally under siege and where they've had violence already. So that's happening. And then also, you were talking about a felony. Well, I don't know if you saw this or not, but the guy that tried to assassinate Brett Kavanaugh, Supreme Court judge, has been sentenced to only 8 years. And the reason the judge gave was the new executive order that Donald Trump gave, because this guy is transitioning he's transgender now. He was a man, or at least identified as male when he went into prison, but now he's identified as transgender, and so the judge doesn't want to sentence this guy to a lengthy sentence. I mean, it's just unbelievable. So how many prisoners are going to come out now and say, "Hey, I'm a gal"? I mean, it's just crazy. You can't make this stuff up.
Newsflash: he's still a man. You can put any hormone you want in your body. Your DNA is still going to be an XY. It's lunacy, John. And biblically, when right is wrong and wrong is right, the end is near. I can't think of it getting more. I was going to say screwed up. I guess that's appropriate. More screwed up than it is now. All this stuff that's coming out, and I know you got a picture of our favorite Biden officials coming up towards the end. These things are just not normal, but we have the left trying to tell us they're normal and we have to accept them. But yet when we try to stick to our norms and traditions, we're some kind of ism after our name. And, it's gone too far. The American people spoke up. They brought Donald Trump in and a majority in both chambers of the Congress. And we are at an inflection point in our country. I know we talked about tipping point USA, not turning point, but a spin off of that. I think we are at a tipping point. When you see ICE agents being surrounded by cars, and I know you have that other video you're going to play of the vitriol and the hatred coming out from the crowds, and you're talking about the National Guard going to Portland. Trump has every right to mobilize the National Guard to protect, number one, the employees of the federal government, ICE and CBP, but also the federal property because the governor and mayors of those states and county or towns aren't doing it.
Well, one of the reasons why it makes ICE agents, Border Patrol, and all of that they're so tough is non-cooperation from local officials, these sanctuary
Sure.
cities and states. And this, I don't know if you've seen this, I call it no response pic here, we're about to put up, that I have to say that even I am surprised at this. I never thought that we would see something like this. I don't know if you've seen this, Ted, but literally in Chicago, and the police officers leaked this, they were ordered not to respond when ICE agents were being surrounded by people and a person that was armed and had rammed cars into them. And have we got that on the screen? Check this out. It's unbelievable that they would be ordered not to respond. I mean, I'm almost speechless on this, Ted. So tell me what you think of that.
I'm pretty much the same way. I mean, it's unconscionable that a mayor, governor, whatever governing body would tell their people, do not engage, stay away from this. This is Trump's fault. This is Trump's problem. It's like they're fomenting something to happen. And unfortunately, what's going to happen is people will get shot or killed because they don't want to be involved because they're trying to make a political statement. This is about the rule of law. This is about keeping the security of not just that town or that state, but this nation. And things have got to be brought under control, and they're getting out of control here. And, we had talked in previous shows months back about the impending civil war that Ray Dalio talks about. And I know a lot of the people that you and I talk about. Is this the beginning of that? I mean, at what point are people going to raise arms and just say, we've had enough of this? We don't want to see that. And you're not going to get these things under control if we don't work together cohesively as a unit. And these county administrators, the mayors, the governors, if they're not cooperating with federal law, Trump has no other choice but to step in.
Absolutely. And if people want to see that that bulletin that we just put up there, if they go to any of our Facebook sites, from the Political Pirate Podcast to my John Martin Talks to the Ward Scott Files, you will see I posted that last night, so you can check it out for yourself and see what we're talking about. But
before you move on,
go ahead.
Go back to Kristi Noem, talking about these people have been identified, the ICE agents. They've been identified where they live, where their family is. That they doxed them. That's when you put all that information on the internet, and then there are bounties for kidnapping them or assassinating them. This is going on in America about people in our country putting this kind of information out, putting our people that are trying to protect us in those agencies in harm's way. I just have never seen that in our country before. Never.
Well, Ted, you may recall that back during President Trump's first term, and this was out, I want to say in Portland, it could have been Seattle. They kind of blend together sometimes. But not only were they doxing the ICE agents themselves, but they were following them when they took their children to school.
Right.
And actually targeting their children. I mean, it's just unbelievable. But
the dichotomy is it's just so cut and dry. You look at when I always go back to Maxine Waters and that whole mindset back when Trump was in there, telling people, if you see one of their people from the administration in a restaurant, you get in their face, you do this. Matt Gaetz had somebody come up to him and throw a milkshake in his face when he was in his district and up in the Panhandle. I don't ever remember hearing a Republican acting that way or the conservatives going after people. I'm sure there's some that do that, but not being fomented and encouraged by members of Congress or these groups like, Soros is always the one we blame, but people that are funding groups like this. And keep in mind, Kamala Harris was one that was funding the Antifa people that were in jail. So it's that the liberal progressive that used to be Democrats that are lost now, that people that are really Democrats. It's this other group out there. And look at the transformation we've had. We've got Zohran Madani, an avowed socialist that'll be a communist, for leading the race in New York. That's how much this country has changed, John, in the last 10 years.
Yeah, well, think about this. You mentioned about Democrats cheering them on. President Trump was literally impeached. Love him, hate him, whatever. He was literally impeached for saying, go up there and peacefully protest. Whether it was right or wrong to even do that is debatable, no question about it. But Donald Trump was impeached for saying, go and peacefully protest, when you have Chuck Schumer, who's the leader in the Senate of the Democrats, literally on the steps of the Supreme Court going, you're going to reap the whirlwind, and then, of course, Kavanaugh has an assassination attempt. You have Kamala Harris, who became the leader of the Democratic Party, not only bailing people out that were committed crimes, which one of those people that they bailed out ended up murdering someone, but she literally, when she was running for vice president with Biden, said we need to not only get in the streets, but stay in the streets regardless of the election. We need to be rioting in the streets, calling for rioting in the streets. So there are people on both sides, if you want to say that say inappropriate things. But the Republican leadership disavows them, puts them down, says don't go that direction, that type of thing. The Democrats lionize that kind of stuff. There is a difference.
They really do. There really is. I mean, look at George Floyd. Look at his rap sheet. Look at how he had that crime. He robbed that pregnant woman up there, and he wasn't by himself. He had 4 or 5 other guys with him. And, you look at that, the Mangione guy, the guy that assassinated Charlie Kirk. I don't want to mention his name, but they want to try to make excuses for these people. It's not his fault, and he was a confused lover. And it's garbage. What they did was wrong. And if you can't call out wrong is wrong and evil is evil, and you try to justify it, you're on the wrong page here. You're in the wrong country, really. And they need to go elsewhere. Take their garbage and go somewhere else, because it doesn't belong here in America, a constitutional republic which has rule of law. And I think we all can do better on following the rule of law. All of us. I know I will. I can. But I think we need to look internally, too. Are we doing the best we can for this country? We're at that point, John, where there is a divide, and that chasm's getting wider. And hopefully us and other shows can bring people together and say, hey, let's look at our future and look at the blessings we've had in this country.
Yeah, well, we're going to play we're going to do a quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back, and I want to play this video that, again, is just shocking, and we'll talk about it. So please support our sponsors. And if you want to become a sponsor, look at the tagline that says Contact Freddie. Make that call, because we need your help to keep this program alive and to keep motivating and activating people. Ted, go ahead.
No, I just we talked to a lot of people at Black Tie and Blue Jeans, gave out a lot of our cards with the ad rates, and we appreciate people calling us and wanting to advertise. So you can be one of those. Thank you.
Yep, we'll be right back.
Although the owner of Lewis Oil Company maintains she is 29, Lewis Oil turns 60 years old in June. Chevron would like to recognize the North Florida second-generation family-owned business, celebrating its growth and staying power. Lewis Oil Company maintains significant on-hand supplies, strategically located fuel depots, a delivery fleet, on-site service, fuel card locks, and convenience stores. Lewis Oil Company understands its responsibility in the local economy by providing service and delivery on demand and in crisis. As a first responder for 18 Florida counties and the Southeast from Texas to Virginia, we are proud of this rare accomplishment. Lewis Oil delivers.
This is Ward Scott, and I want to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. The Ward Scott Files premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care.
Meldon Law, the only official injury partner of the Florida Gators.
The Ward Scott Files Gold sponsors are Lewis Oil Company.
Shoot GTR.
On the Spot Dry Cleaners, R&R Construction, and Style Cuts. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, www.awardscottfiles.com, and click on the Advertise Here banner on the right side of the page, or call my friend Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the Ward Scott Files. And remember, if you like the show, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. May God have mercy on your soul.
Or that very much surprises me that you've never been tased.
You can't handle the truth.
All bees poop.
A warthog. He's going to come up the steps. Here he comes. Oh my goodness, and he's huge. Hello, boy. Wonder if we can pet him. Hi, boy.
Can we touch him? No, don't.
Help me! Help! Help!
And we're back to the 3 Ps, the Political Pirate Podcast, with John Martin here as your host, and coming to you from parts unknown in the Florida Keys, the captain of our ship, Ted Yoho. We're back, Ted.
Great to be back for part 2.
Absolutely. Well, when we went to break, we were talking about literally how far are the Democrats willing to take their Trump derangement syndrome, because that's the only thing that really explains how far they're letting things go. You know, it's still hard for me to believe that they truly, I'm not talking about every Democrat. I'm talking about the Democratic elected officials that are silent on this. We're going to play a video for you right now. This was over the weekend, and it's a short snippet, but this is going on 24/7 in Chicago ICE facility. This was just yesterday.
Hard to believe. This is America.
And I want you to hear the specific language these people are in unison shouting at these ICE officers.
Yeah, parents, cover your children's ears.
Yeah, that's fine.
Quit your job! 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 Quit your job!
They're literally there, Ted, yelling, "Quit your effing job," over and over and over. I got a lot of thoughts on this, but before I go into my thoughts, Ted, what is your response to that?
Well, again, it shows you the state of affairs in America. Again, I've never heard this before. I have, when we looked at Portland with George Floyd and the chaos that was going on there. But for a major city like Chicago, Oregon's a special case along with LA, but Chicago, we've not seen this before. This is an area that was, always under control, it seemed like, until probably in the mid 70s, 80s. Of course, I'm dating myself. There was none of this kind of nonsense. Even when the Vietnam War was going on, there was protests and things like that. But you can understand why they were protesting. They're protesting against an agency that's trying to do the job that they've been mandated to do by the American people and this president. And for these people to have that that much disrespect for a fellow American, it just makes you wonder where we're heading. I know where we're heading, and it's not nice.
Yeah, well, you've heard me say this before, but as I say, if I say it, it bears repeating. That you hear those ICE agents being attacked, saying, "Quit your job." We talked earlier about the order that came down.
That was the nicer part, they said.
Yeah, that they to quit your job. And then we talked earlier in the show about the order that came down through the Chicago Police Department not to respond to a call from Border Patrol agents and ICE agents that were literally physically under attack by people with automobiles, ramming them with 10 different vehicles and being armed with semi-automatic weapons and stuff and not responding. And, you got to believe that these police officers themselves, and they know this. I'm not necessarily faulting them because I know they don't want to not respond. I got to still believe that. But they're going to be next because you got the mayor, the current mayor of Chicago, literally talking still about doing away with the police department, not only defunding them, but phasing them out. Phasing out any kind of incarceration whatsoever, not just doing away with cash bail, but doing away with prisons themselves. And you got a guy that is on the doorstep of being mayor of New York City, essentially saying the same thing and saying globalize the infantada, which means kill all Islamic fundamentalist believers, which includes a lot of people. I mean,
a lot of people.
Wow. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And let me say this one more thing, Ted, and then I'll turn it back to you. My concern about this, beyond just public safety, is the officers, when they leave their home every day, they look at their family and themselves in the mirror, and the main job they have for their family is to make it back home that day or that night.
That's right.
What if we become a country that is not worth serving? What if we have communities that aren't worth serving? Why would these people do it? Because it's definitely not for the money.
Oh, it's not for the money. No, it's for patriotism. And they're doing what they feel is right. They were just, that's what their DNA is. They want to serve. And for these politicians to call for that. But this goes back to, AOC was one of the first ones calling for defunding the police. Then Zoran Madani, and then you've got all the other followers of that mindset calling for defunding the police. It's the police are the bad part, not the criminals. Criminals wouldn't be criminals, as Jasmine Crockett. Just because you committed a crime doesn't make you a criminal. And so, again, this is the mantra that comes over and over again. And as people decide who they're going to vote for, keep in mind who's backing these people or this movement. It's the politicians that are causing this stuff that are on the left. And, it's not going to have a happy ending if we keep going down this route. And you've got Tim Walz up in Minnesota, the same thing, And so you've got these very liberal bastions around the nation. And they're telling our people to stand down and telling the agitators to stand up. What I'd like to see, and I think this was done in Hollywood, a movie, where they got rid of the rules for like 24 hours or 48 hours. You could do anything. You could rob, steal, kill, whatever. You wouldn't get fined. But can you imagine if all the law officers for a period of time just says, you know what, we're not showing up, and just shut down, and then let the people that are demanding they shut down, let them feel the consequences of that. Obviously, I don't really want that to happen.
They call those movies, there's a series called The Purge.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was, The Purge.
And well, keep in mind that towards the end of the Trump administration, Hollywood did a movie where they were literally hunting people who were identified as MAGA people. They were hunting them. There was a Hollywood movie about that.
Oh, was that? I didn't see that one.
Yeah. It was released right towards the end of the Trump's first administration. But
again, you got to think: is China behind that? Is dark money behind that? Promoting? What kind of garbage is that? Look at the stuff Disney's putting out. Walt Disney would never put stuff out like that. It was Old Yeller, it was Cinderella, it was Daniel Boone and all that stuff. It was feel good movies. Garbage coming out of DC or Hollywood, DC too. It's just got garbage.
Absolutely. Well, we're just talking about and showed that video, but my worry about the police waking up and saying, these communities aren't worth serving. A flip side of that coin, and possibly even bigger, is what if for our military, what if we become a country not worth defending? And that
Right.
is something that scares me with an all-volunteer force. What if we become that? And I want to play this video of something that Pete Hegseth said recently about the military and the fat. And The View is talking about this idea of focusing on a fit military. They don't understand it. Check this out, Ted, and we'll come back and talk about it.
We're empowering drill sergeants to instill healthy fear in new recruits.
Why is he obsessed with fat?
Yeah, and fitness. I don't understand how that was supposed to be an uplifting message for our military.
I can't handle it. She said.
I mean, Ted, it's just unbelievable that they would question. You could debate whether you like Pete Hegseth or not, or the Department of Defense versus the Department of the military. War, correct. But to debate whether we should have fit troops is ridiculous, man. What are your thoughts on that?
I watched. It was painful to. I've never watched a segment of The View. That's garbage. But for her to say, "What's this about fatness? Everything's fat," and that other lady goes, "Yeah, and fitness. They're putting emphasis on fitness." Yeah, these are the people that are in our military. You know, they're warriors. You know, they're supposed to be, and. Yeah, this also goes to our police force and our firefighters. You imagine a fat guy weighing 350, 400 pounds that has a hard time breathing, and he's got to go up the ladder to save somebody. Who's going to go up and save him? And these people don't live in reality, the people on The View. And I feel bad for people that watch it, because to me, it's just a waste of mind space and however long you spend in front of that watching those people. It doesn't advance your life.
Well, Ted, you know, when you were saying that, of course, it sparked a thought in me, as you quite often do.
That's my job.
Can you imagine? And I hate to even mention this because it's hard to even fathom this, but when you look what happened with FEMA a while back, where they actually had a directive not to help people in Florida that had MAGA signs or Trump signs in front of their yard, it makes it possible. Could you imagine firefighters getting a call, or paramedics getting a call, let alone police officers getting a call, and them making a determination whether they're going to go service that location based on someone's politics? I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's not that far-fetched.
No, it's not that far-fetched. And I think that happens already. It's just not well broadcast. You know, certainly the technology's out there. You could look somebody's voting registration up, you know, pretty much in seconds. And have we gotten to that point in society where we're going to draw a line? We're going to treat this person, we're going to service this person, but we're not going to service these. You know, that is the ultimate division that will separate this country and force it into a conflict. And people need to get over that. And you know, take politics out of all that stuff, especially when you're coming into, you know, something like an emergency. You know, you don't care where they are. You're going to do what you have to save that person.
Well, you earlier mentioned this picture I'm about to show. I call it the New Path picture. And my question is, can we be that far apart? But when you see this picture, it shows you that I guess we really, really are that far apart.
You suppose Pete Hegseth was talking about Rachel Levine or whatever her name is, Ralph?
The Admiral? She's an Admiral. Yeah. Keep that in mind.
No,
but Ted,
he is an Admiral.
I kind of wonder.
He is not a woman. He is an Admiral. He is not a woman. Somebody should tell him. Plus, he looks silly in a dress.
Whether he still has them or not, I don't know, but he is nuts. No doubt about that. But Ted, I want to play another video here because this particular one, it's just a short clip. You know, happy birthday to 250th to the U.S. Navy. Donald Trump was celebrating them yesterday, and I want to play this because this video gives me hope. There is still hope when you see this little quick snippet. Let's play it and we'll come back and talk.
This is great.
Well, that was good timing, wasn't it? We had to get that right.
We had to get that right. There you have it. You've got the Navy there in unison. You know, they're not sitting there complaining about fitness. They're actually loving what Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth are bringing to it. And they cheered right before that, which I didn't show it. I've encouraged people to watch the whole video. Is the First Lady was well received, and she introduced her husband, the president, there. But there you have it, similar to what we showed last week at the Ryder Cup. People love Donald Trump. Contrary to what you're seeing in the media, there are a number of people that really do appreciate the direction the president is leading us.
Oh, it's night and day difference. You know, have you ever been to a game show on like in New York or California, like the Letterman show?
I have not had the privilege.
We went and saw David Letterman. This is back before he got so far left. And you go into the audience, you sit there. Then a guy comes out, he pumps you up, and he says, "Look at the signs. When it says applause, you applause because David really reacts to that." So they've got to tell you when to applause. I bring that up because when you watch Trump, those people in the Navy that were behind him, they were pumped up naturally. They were so excited to see him. They love that guy. They love what he's doing for the military, for America, and our world standing. Contrast that to Biden. They would have to have those signs, not just for him to read and when to exit, but the signs for the audience, like, you should applaud now, you know, and just a night and day difference. I mean, he was so wrong for this country, and Barry Obama got his third term. And thank you, Barry, because you're going to be just a blip in the pages of the annals of history.
Well, even Michelle Obama is fed up with Barack Obama. If you watch what little bit of people watch her podcast, but you remember, you talk about Biden. Biden was there in Maryland when the soldiers were coming back from Afghanistan with the flag draped coffins, and he's looking at his watch like, I got someplace else I need to be. It's just unbelievable, and that kind of thing. But I want to play something here. We're going to move on to another story, but it really ties in. Democrat Virginia Attorney General candidate calls for violence. He calls for 2 bullets to the head to Republican Speaker of the Virginia House. I want to play this quick video, Ted, and we'll come back and talk about it because this is unbelievable.
Developments in the race for Attorney General of Virginia. Democrats and Republicans are condemning old text messages that emerged from Democratic candidate Jay Jones. The conservative media outlet The National Review first reported the messages and said Jones sent them back in 2022 to Republican delegate Kerry Coyner. In the first one, it says Jones reportedly said if he had 2 bullets for 3 people, and one of them was then House Speaker Todd Gilbert, quote, Gilbert gets 2 bullets to the head. Spoiler, put Gilbert in the crew with the 2 worst people you know, and he receives both bullets every time. Well, late tonight, Jones released a statement that said, I take full responsibility for my actions, and I want to issue my deepest apology to Speaker Gilbert and his family. Reading back those words made me sick to my stomach. I am embarrassed, ashamed, and sorry. I have reached out to Speaker Gilbert to apologize directly to him, his wife Jennifer, and their children. I cannot take back what I said. I can only take full accountability and offer my sincere apology. Virginians deserve honest leaders who admit when they are wrong and own up to their mistakes. This was a grave mistake, and I will work every day to prove to the people of Virginia that I will fight for them as Attorney General.
Well, here you have, Ted, a gentleman, a Democratic candidate for Attorney General, which means he's going to be the supreme law enforcement officer of the country, of the state of Virginia, literally calling for bullets to be put into the head of the speaker, the Republican speaker of the state legislature, the House there. I mean, and you have, the thing is, no Democratic leaders are calling this guy out. They're literally praising him for admitting to it after he was caught, and they're not calling him out, not calling for him to drop out of the race. It kind of shows that there is a difference between the Democratic leadership and the rest of America.
Think of the outrage when Sarah Palin had that picture of a target and I forget what it was tied to, but I mean, they just went after her and tore her up. You get something like this, and it's like, oh yeah, he did something silly. He apologized, and they don't say anything else about it. But if it was somebody on the right, they would just go after and after. And this is again where we become so divided between right and left, Republican, Democrat. We've got to focus on Americans. We're all Americans. We're all in this country together, and we need to come together and make it the best country we can. And the thing that divides us is the political machines, the people that support those political machines, and then the money that's thrown into these candidates. If we were to get rid of the parties and the monies, and people just went out and beat the turf, not causing violence, but going out talking to their constituents, you win elections that way, and you break the arm of the people that are trying to influence all this garbage.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as you've heard me say many times, Ted, if we're waiting on a knight in shining armor to save us, we're kind of screwed in general. And this is not a knock on anybody like President Trump and everything. Thank God he's up there. But the American people, we're never going to elect a government better than we are. So ultimately, it is up to us, the American people, to man, as I say, the political ramparts. Because if we don't, we're going to have to man the real ones again, which would be a shame because that price has been paid many, many times over. And I just want American people to wake up. You don't have to agree with everything I say, but if you can sit there and agree that we should assassinate people like this guy's talking about, if you or really believe that officers should not respond when other officers are under fire, if you believe that people should be pick and choose who they protect and serve based on their political beliefs, then we just really don't have anything to talk about.
We really don't. We the people need to be the knight in shining armor. We're not going to wait for a politician because we'll be waiting a long time. It's like Confucius said, hungry man on side of mountain with mouth open, waiting for duck to fly in. Go a very long time hungry. We'll be very hungry for a long time if we wait for that. We need to be that change. We need to be that person. And, this country, again, you and I, we've talked a lot about this, how much we love this country, what it stands for. It ain't perfect, but yet it's our job to make it better than we left, better when we leave it than when we found it.
Absolutely. And if people are listening and they think, well, maybe you're just all one-sided. No, it's just that there's no Democrats other than John Fetterman right now that are in leadership that are worthy of me actually saying, how can I agree with any of them that are up there right now? I can't agree with any of them. I agree with John Fetterman. I never thought I'd say that, but I respect and admire the guy now because he's standing up for what is right. He's not like pro-Trump. He's pro-American values, and that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
When you were saying that, and you said, I can't believe that I'm promoting him, I felt the same way. I mean, he was somebody I just kind of despised my ignorance. I didn't know who he was. But he has taken a very firm stand. And I wish more people would follow that and say, you know what they're doing over here on this radical left is not right for America. Denounce what they're doing. And if they did that, you're going to see people applaud them, and you're going to see less influence coming out of the Ilhan Omar and that kind of just toxic portion. And I don't want to call it the Democratic Party because it's not the Democratic Party, of the liberal, progressive, Marxist, communist jihad movement.
Yeah, and I would just tell people that if you're out there and you're a registered Democrat, take it, and you don't want to support Republicans, I get it. I understand that. Take your party back. Take your party back from the progressive radical leftists that have taken it over. Get behind someone like John Fetterman and the principles that he's talking about. Take your party back, because right now, make no mistake, Democrats, your party is being run by extreme leftists that don't fundamentally believe in the founding principle of this country. I don't know how plainer to state it.
They despise America. I mean, I have heard Ilhan Omar when I was there. She goes, "The problem with America is we've got to destroy it to rebuild it." And they want to. I mean, I don't know what image she wants to rebuild it. I mean, she comes from Somalia, one of the most unstable places on the planet, and I'm going to listen to her on how we should rebuild this country. Give me a break. You know.
Absolutely. Well, we got a few minutes left in the show here, and I want to move into a topic here that really is troubling
This is a good
to me
topic.
on a national scene. I never really thought that I would see this happen, but my question at the theme of this article is Israel losing the propaganda war? Obviously, they're not losing the actual war right now, but are they losing the propaganda war? Listen to this. This comes from the Washington Post, Ted. According to a poll out, American Jews, according to this poll, 48% rate Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's leadership of Israel as poor, and a 20-point jump from the Pew Research Center poll 5 years ago. If this is true, Ted, what is causing this slippage within American Jewish people who normally support Israel overwhelmingly? They are fractured right now, it appears.
No, they definitely are fractured. And, I'm always leery of polls. Who does the poll? What questions were asked? Was there an ulterior motive to try to get people to answer a certain way? So, I take a poll with a big grain of salt. The second thing is many American Jews sharply critical of Israel. What I have found is, and I've got a lot of Jewish friends, a lot of the American Jewish people are Democrats, or they vote Democrats. I know billionaires that are Democrat, and they're Jewish, and they vote very liberal Democrat. And I think if you go over to Israel, you're going to get a different polling of the people. And then you look at the media, who controls a lot of the media, the Jewish people in America, and they tend to be more liberal. So I can see how this is, but I don't think this is really in the world. I'm not going to say the world, but in Israel, I don't think this is the way they feel over there. Keep in mind what happened on October 7th. What was it, 3 years ago? Think of the horrendous.
Yeah, we're coming up on the second anniversary.
That's right, 2 years ago.
Yeah, tomorrow, I believe.
Think of the horrendous, heinous act that happened. Over 1,200 people got killed, cutting the heads of babies off, burning them, eviscerating women that were pregnant. I mean, just the atrocities. And I give more power to Netanyahu. If Hamas will not come to the table, stomp them out. Because that's like a cancer and leaving a cancer cell in there. And if you leave it in there, it's going to metastasize. And I hate to say that, because is that a form of genocide? Well, it could be looked at it that way, but it's also an existential threat if you leave that in there.
Yeah, well, part of the problem, Ted, is that, the media, you mentioned about the atrocities that were committed. Well, there hadn't really been, and I'm not necessarily advocating for it, but there hasn't been a release of the actual videos that were shot by Hamas themselves when they were doing it. Select few people have seen them. I have not. But there's video every single day of the war and the devastation, and there is devastation in Gaza every single day. And so a lot of young people are seeing a totally different message coming out of Israel and the war in Gaza than what really happened there. They're only seeing one side of this. And I want to show this picture. I call it a Hamas mass picture. This is who we're talking about negotiating with, that they're literally got their mask on. You don't hear anybody saying demask them, and that type of thing. And they're shaking the hands of this little kid. This was when some hostages were paraded through the streets. You're talking about making peace with these people. I just don't see how that's possible.
I don't either. Did you show the picture?
Yeah, it was up.
Okay. I don't either, John. when you have people chanting from the river to the sea, um, death to Israel, death to America, that's these people. Hamas is sponsored by Iran and other nefarious actors, and they're calling for the complete destruction. Keep in mind that the Israelis offered 5 times a two-state solution. Hamas turned it down every time. They turned it down every time. So the bodes the question: do they really want peace? No, they want peace if all the Jews are gone and they're run out of Israel, and that the Palestinians take over all of Israel. And for them to parade these people and show that the military people, and this little boy looking up to him and idolizing him, I mean, that sends a signal to that generation. They're going to hate the Jews just as much. People don't realize this, and I think we talked about this before. The Palestinian Liberation Authority, the PLA, they pay rewards to people in Palestine for killing Jews, maiming them. The more destruction they do, the more they get paid. And if they get killed, the Hamas person gets killed or the Palestinian, their family gets taken care of very well. So they're paying people to do these things. The government is. Crazy thing is our government was giving them foreign aid that went into this. And, you're not going to get peace with that kind of mentality. And also in their children's book, they taught their children that the Jews are descendants of pigs and no better than pigs. And, and again, they teach hatred from the beginning of learning. And, how do you fix that? Can you fix that by having a peace settlement? But you can have the peace settlement, but you're not going to have peace unless you're fixing how you're raising children, next generation.
We're going to keep following this story because
we need to follow this
to not only the United States but to the world in general, because pretty much both of the major religions, Judeo-Christian and Islamic fundamentalists, they believe that the end of the world will come from the Middle East, basically. So they're in unison in that. And so it is definitely something that we have got to watch and be prepared for. And I will just say this. I am 100% for Israel because I personally, this is just my own personal statement, I believe that they are our best friend and ally. And there's a difference. An ally is someone who joins with you when it's in their mutual self-interest. That's not a criticism, just a fact. A friend is with you even when you're wrong occasionally. And the Jewish state has proven to be a friend and ally to the United States. We only got like a minute left, Ted. You close us out, and any thoughts you have on what I just said.
No, I mean, people, open up the page, turn the TV on to any news station. Things are different than they were 10 years ago. Things are becoming more fractured, more violent. And we have to ask ourselves, is this the future we want for America? How do you change it? Well, you change it by electing people that are going to get out of this garbage and not get involved in this. And I think if we keep our show going, keep educating, motivating, and activating people, John, it'll change. But it won't be just us. It'll be the Charlie Kirks, the Turning Points USA, other groups like that. And there is hope. One thing I've always learned is don't ever give up hope, and the hope is the last thing you have to move you to the next station, that and opportunity to the next place in life. And we all want a better life. So let's all work together to solve our problems internally, and then we'll assist other nations to solve their own problems without us being on the ground in their country. And we hope the Gators do another great job this weekend when we come up to that. We'll talk more about that. Other than that, I'm done, John. You have a wonderful time up there, and we should be back at least by next Monday.
Absolutely. Well, aye, Captain, what you said. Peace out, everybody.
Take care, everybody. God bless.